What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now I'm back with another rant. It's been a minute since I just had an all-out rant. I've said little complaints here and there, but I'm a very durable, tough person in general, just mentally. And it takes a while for me to let things amount, but I'm just getting, frankly, sick and damn tired of boxing and its politics and some of the bullshit. So I'm going to spend some time talking about a variety of different issues with today's scope of boxing. Now, I've grown up on boxing, so I went back and watched fights before my time. I grew up and watched fights from, the 90s, and boxing has changed. Some good ways, some bad ways. And this generation, this new era of boxers, if you will, is full of fucking prima donnas and pussies and rules and stuff. It's crazy. It's kind of like, look at the NBA league. When Jordan was playing, he had teams like the Knicks and like the Pistons, just classic rivalries. Those dudes were playing like grown men, brutal, rough, fouls, and they would just, you had to take your lumps. If you get elbowed in the mouth, you have to keep playing. Nowadays, you see guys who are bigger, faster, because medical science has evolved and there's all kinds of supplements, and we know more about like exercises and core exercises, things to make you more explosive, strength and conditioning. And even though a lot of these guys are bigger, maybe younger, stronger than some of the guys in the past generation, like you look at a LeBron versus a Patrick Ewing. LeBron clearly looks like he's in better shape than maybe a Patrick Ewing, but you can't duplicate the throwback era and how tough those motherfuckers were. They were tough, and it's really all sports. It's like football, basketball, and definitely in boxing. I mean, you got guys like Muhammad Ali fighting a duration of a fight with a broken jaw. Nowadays, other people be in the same situation, and they want to tap out, so to speak. And like, just look recently, Nonito Donaire versus Siempre Way. I mean, he kept complaining, like, since when can you make up your own rules and break up the action and you're not the referee of the fight? I just don't understand it. I don't understand how Nonito Donaire in mid-fight was just turning his back and walking away. I understand you get a clash, blood's getting your eye, but these are things and the trials and tribulations of the sport. You have to go through these things, especially when you have a name in the sport of boxing. If you're a champion, if you're a respected name, if you're like a six-figure salary earner, you have a bullseye on your back, and that's how boxing is. So that's just one example. The Sean Porter, Kell Brook shit, I made my video because there's commotion of if the fight's still going on, if it's not going on, just little stuff like that. The motherfuckers are mandatory. Just get it done. There should be no excuses for majority of these fights not happening. Yuri Yorkis versus Mikey Garcia should have happened. They talked about it. They had a venue for it. Fans wanted it, but it didn't happen. Pacquiao, Mayweather. And I'm sick of just all of it. The boxing politics. You got other guys like Keith Thurman. And the biggest excuse, you look at like Ruben Guerrero, he's and Robert Guerrero, they're basically acting like, who has he fought? Who has he beat? Okay, that's fair enough. He hasn't really beat anybody who's in their prime or one of the great names, but part of that comes with who's giving him the shot. He was supposed to fight Marcos Maidana. Maidana pulled out and his team pulled out. Robert Guerrero was offered the fight before Kamagai and all that shit, and they turned down the fight. So you have to put it in perspective. It's like, let's say I just turned 18 and I'm trying to establish credit. I go into Macy's and I apply for a Macy's credit card. And then they say, oh, you weren't approved in store. We'll send you a letter in the mail, let you know why. I get the letter in the mail and it says, you don't have any credit cards. You don't have any established credit history. Therefore, we decline your request for a Macy's credit card. That's how the credit business works. If they don't know, if they're uncertain of your loyalty because you haven't established credit because you just turned 18, never had a credit card, a lot of companies will decline you. But it's like, how do you establish credit if everywhere you go to Macy's, you go to Target, no one's willing to give you a shot, no one's willing to give you a first credit card? How do you establish credit? You know what I mean? And it's the same thing for these boxers. You got guys like Keith Thurman, who's lining up to step in the ring with him to the point where he can get that certified name. And you look at guys like Robert Guerrero, you've been in the business. You fought the Escobedos and the Katsidases and Orlando Salido, even though he was cheating. But you were afforded those opportunities in your career. Therefore, you were able to establish and build your name. Then you got, like I said, like Keith Thurman, and that's just one person. Demetrius Andrade, he's calling out a ton of people, and he has Olympic background. He's a skilled fighter, and a lot of times nowadays, boxing is so concerned. Some of the fans are so concerned with monetary gain. Oh, Demetrius Andrade, he doesn't put enough asses in seats. Edis Londi Laura, Rigondeaux, they don't bring enough of a crowd. Fuck that. If they're skilled fighters and it's supposed to be the best of the best, put them in there with anybody. I mean, Lomachenko, he is a skilled fighter, and he showed that against Gary Russell Jr. Put him in there with Rigondeaux. You know what I mean? These are the fights that need to happen. Meanwhile, you got guys like Angulo, no disrespect because I'm an Angulo fan as well, who brings like far less skill. He's just a tough motherfucker and far less skilled. He can crack, he has heart, he has a chin, he's tough. Take none of that away from him. Yet people back him. People are like, oh, Angulo, you know what I mean? Some people are split. Some people want Angulo to beat Canelo, vice versa. Some people wanted Canelo over Angulo. So I just think boxing has taken a turn for the worse in some regards with the whole prima donnas. It's like everybody in boxing's Tom Brady. Everyone wants to be like a Floyd Mayweather in terms of like calling the shots and dictating this and that. And it's just getting out of hand and out of line, in my opinion. And you got to even keep in mind that I get annoyed when Mayweather does some of his demands and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? You don't own boxing. But even guys like Brady and Mayweather, at the very least, you could say certain guys have paid their dues in the sport of boxing. They have longevity in their career, so they earned it. But nowadays, you got guys who come in and want to mimic that, and they haven't really accomplished as much. You look at Adrian Broner, he's likening himself to Mayweather. You haven't done what Mayweather's done. You're saying you want to fight Pacquiao. You haven't done what Pacquiao's done for the sport or for your career. You know what I mean? You have questionable wins. People think the Paulie Malignaggi and the Daniel Ponce de Leon were questionable wins. You know what I mean? And you're calling out the big dogs. So it's just a lot of hype, a lot of I just miss the throwback atmosphere of boxing. You have the best fighting the best. Didn't really, you know what I mean? You take a L. This is another thing. When fighters take a L nowadays, it's like bloody hell. If you lose, you're down the shitter. You're worthless. You're a bum. Like, people forget this is boxing. You're not going to win every fight. You know what I'm saying? Unless your name's Kawasaki or Mayweather or Rocky Marciano or something. You're not going to win every single fucking fight. And people nowadays, the fans, are so quick to dismiss if you take a loss. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even, you could take an average loss, like meaning you didn't get beat the fuck down. There's some competitive rounds, but you lose. Like Cotto. Let's say Cotto versus Mayweather. I thought he handedly lost to Mayweather in that fight, but he gave Mayweather a run for his money. People already after that said Cotto was done for, and there's no more Cotto. He sucks now. He's washed up. Yet, a couple fights down, years later, he reinvents himself and beats Sergio Martinez. Although it was an ailing, older Sergio Martinez, he still did it. You know what I mean? And he put the pressure on him. He looked good and crisp with his boxing. And people are so quick to write you off nowadays, you can't even take an L. You know what I'm saying? And that's not, to me, the sport I grew up on. Those are just, I guess, some of the things that I've noticed. People not getting shots, fans not standing by fighters. There's just so many fickle, fair weather fans. It's ridiculous. Canelo lost. You know what I mean? I literally have talked to people who said they were diehard Canelo fans, and I even seen some of them, like their usernames, diehard Canelo fans, and then he loses to Mayweather, who is considered the number one pound for pound dude, and all of a sudden they hate him. They're no longer pro Canelo. They don't like him because he didn't have a good enough showing against Mayweather. Like, come on, when the fuck did that ever occur back in the day? Because Canelo lost at age 21, 22, 23, whatever he was when he fought Mayweather, doesn't mean he's horrible. It just means he wasn't up for the challenge. He got outclassed. It happens. But again, dealing with these fucked up, fickle fans, this is what you get in the sport of boxing. I just want to see great fights being made. I think there's a lot of hoopla about certain fights. Oh, Kell Brook and Sean Porter backing out. Like, why? Why is it that hard? Cold War and all that bullshit, man. I just want to see great fights. You got middleweights. There's tons of talent in the middleweight. Why not see some of these fights? Stop seeing Gennady Golovkin pulverize 154 pounders. Throw in Peter Quillen. You know what I mean? Throw in David Lemieux. Let's see somebody who's looked good in their last 2 or 3 fights or whatever fight these ranked opponents, or the people who are considered the best in the division or one of the best in the division. Then you got situations like Danny Garcia, where again champs are getting too much. It's like a popularity contest. I don't know if you guys did this in high school, but in my high school, in the yearbook, they would have, it's called superlatives: prettiest eyes, most likely to be famous, best dancer, and all kinds of bullshit like that. That's what boxing is becoming to me. It's like a popularity contest because you have more star power, more clout in that regard, more popularity. All of a sudden, you're God and you can dictate everything. Like Danny Garcia, in the public's eyes, and I'm a huge Danny Garcia fan. I told you that. You can check my old videos. But that doesn't mean I have to agree with everything that a motherfucker does. Danny Garcia, in my opinion, lost to Mauricio Herrera at home. He was in Puerto Rico. This was the I'm coming home. This was supposed to be your homecoming. And to me and a lot of other fans, Mauricio Herrera spoiled that party. And instead of offering a rematch, he's just quick to dismiss it. I've seen several interviews, and he said, basically, I'm content. I won. Deal with it. When has that been the case? You know what I'm saying? Like, Pacquiao felt the cut bothered him against Eric Morales in the first fight. It was a close, competitive fight by many accounts. Pacquiao came back, set the record straight, whooped Eric Morales' ass 2 times, and then moved on with his career. That's cool. You know what I mean? This is what boxing, in my opinion, needs. Boxing needs that. Lennox Lewis versus Hasim Rahman. They said Lennox Lewis was ill-prepared. He was filming Ocean's 11, wasn't really training, gave himself like 2 weeks to train in Africa. Then he got level. He got knocked out by Rahman. Shook the world. What did he do? He came back and said, that was a glitch. That was a fluke. This wasn't really supposed to happen. And he came back and knocked Hasim Rahman out. Nowadays, you don't necessarily get that. It's a close competitive fight. Danny Garcia is talking about, I'm fighting somebody else. And it's probably somebody else that the public might not even want to see. I want to see Danny Garcia fight Ruslan, rematch Mauricio Herrera, or fight Lamont Peterson if he's going to stay at 140. If not, move the fuck up. Go to welterweight. Take a chance. Take risks. These are just some of the complaints that I've noticed recently in the sport of boxing. So let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree, what don't you agree with. Make sure you like the video. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.